always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Is this real life?
Chewie's chewing, so she can't say
Hi.
anything. And Emily Blake.
It is real life.
I like that you powered through and you still got a high in there.
I'm really sad I ate my Danish too fast and could enjoy.
There's donuts right behind you.
Yeah, there are donuts.
It's
right there.
not. She's Danish.
That is true. Donuts are not cheese Danish.
Boy, you've already learned something, and we just started.
Yeah, this is going to be a learning podcast this week. Learn what the people who made Bohemian Rhapsody didn't know about Freddie Mercury. Ooh, good times. Special guest this week, we have Elliot Campos.
Hey, thanks for having me feeling good even though I'm under pressure.
Doom, 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 doom.
Whoa! Elliot's coming out of the gate hot. I knew he was the right person to ask to be on this episode.
Talk about something that wasn't in this movie.
I'm not sure if you would take offense to this. When I thought about doing this movie, you were the first person I thought of to have on for it.
Well, I did post a picture of myself on Instagram with a mustache, so I think a lot of people thought of me first.
Yep.
We're also going to have you
Yep.
on for the Geraldo biopic.
Oh my god.
Oh man, my lip hairs are quivering.
What a thing I didn't expect to hear today.
I had no idea what to expect with this one. I just expected a lot of sadness.
I tried to be objective. I was like, I'm not going to make a decision in 5 minutes. And I was like, I made a decision.
See, I was the exact opposite. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not expecting to like this movie. And then the first third, I'm like, you know what? I think I could actually defend this. Like, it's just kind of a standard, boring biopic, but I'm kind of into that. And then, whoa. So before we get too deep into anything or even into our Where Have You Been Doing, I do want to throw out one little thing out there. I know my aunt listens to this show quite often. So, Doreen, if you're listening, I'm sorry we're going to be so mean to a movie that you loved so much.
Sorry, Doreen.
Sorry.
I will do my best to be nice to it when I can, but there's not a lot to be nice to in this movie, in my opinion. But that's for later. For now, we have to do a Where Have You Been Doing? And I guess I can go first. I didn't really have a lot that wasn't Red Dead Redemption 2, which I talked about last week because I was so determined to finish that game. So I'll talk about Doomsday Clock, which I might have edited out of the last episode. I might not have. Doomsday Clock is an issue 9 out of 12, so it's coming close to the end, and it paced itself very much like Watchmen, which is both wonderful and frustrating, because if you've ever read Watchmen, the first half is as slow as molasses, and not a lot happens. It's just moving chess pieces, setting things up for a huge finale, and that's what's happening at Doomsday Clock. And issue 9 was everything I've wanted out of Doomsday Clock so far, and it was amazing. And the slow burn to get to there, I think, was absolutely the right call, and it was beautifully drawn, well written, and just awesome. And it was essentially, without ruining too much, Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen versus the Justice League minus Batman, because Batman wasn't on. He was still on Earth while they were out on Mars trying to get Dr. Manhattan, and it is exactly what you want to see from that fight. And it was just, I can't speak enough about it. It is so good. If you've not been reading Doomsday Clock, don't wait for the trade because you're too far behind at this point. But if you have been, enjoy the ride. That's it for me.
Cool. Yep. So I saw a horror film that happens to star one of the actresses in this movie that we're going to be talking about today. It's called Don't Knock Twice.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's about a strange mother and daughter who get chased by the Baba Yaga, sort of. And it completely fumbles all its themes that it wants to go for all the horror cliches.
Was Lucy Boynton in that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
And
pronounce
Katie
her last name.
Sackhoff was the mother.
Okay.
Yeah, so Katie Sackhoff was the mother and Lucy Boynton was the daughter, and it's a very weird movie that decides that its scares or its jump scares and moments are more important than any possible theme that could make the characters likable.
Well, that's a negative review right there.
But Katie Sackhoff does a really good job, which is weird.
always
Like,
does.
yeah, so like she gives it her all, and the filmmakers didn't seem to do that either. So
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
Joey, what about you?
I have a disappointment to discuss briefly. Whereas we watched Suspiria for the first time. You and I had never seen it.
That's
the
true.
70s version, not the new one. And we watched it on a DVD from Netflix. And it was a terrible version of the film.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear very well what was happening, and the visuals were all muddy and whatever.
It didn't have subtitles, so we
It
couldn't even
didn't
turn
have
those on.
subtitles, so that we couldn't help ourselves. And I wanted to love this movie because I've always heard so many things about how wonderful it is for horror, for like depictions of women in horror and
Body horror in general.
body horror and all this stuff. And honestly, I was told it was really gory, and I guess maybe I've just been really desensitized because there's really very minimal gore in it.
Yeah.
And at the ending, I was just like, wait, that's it? That's the climax? It's done already? Like, that was barely a fight.
Yeah, we both kind of went, oh, that's
thought
good.
we
That's
were-
too easy. There's still another 15 minutes in this movie. And then the credits start rolling. It's like, oh, I guess it's just that easy.
Yeah, so I think it's an example of a film that you really needed to actually see on film in a theater so that you could only pay attention to it, because maybe I would have been more engrossed in it than being frustrated with the terrible DVD in our living room.
Yeah.
But so it was very sad.
I liken it kind of to like the original Halloween, where if you've not seen it yet and you finally sit down to watch it, you're going to go, I mean, I get it. I get why people love it, but it's not scary. Well, it was at the time. Now you've just seen everybody who's ripped it off, and this is where we are. But this is what we got there. And so it's like, yeah. I didn't love it. I don't think I'm ever going back to it, but I think you liked it more than I did.
I would totally see it again in a theater on 35.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I would really, the production design and just the design in general is still gorgeous. I just would like to see it look gorgeous.
Yeah. Emily, what about you?
For some reason, I decided to watch Transformers the last night.
Oh no!
Oh, I made that same mistake. It's not a, oof.
No, it was great because I have never watched all of a Transformers movie before. I've seen like maybe half the first one, and I've seen about 5 minutes of one with Josh Duhamel in the desert. I don't know which one that was.
Most of them.
That's
It's
two.
okay. So, but I only saw like 5 minutes of it. So I had no idea what the fuck was happening in this movie. And although I've been told that even if you did see all the movies, you still probably very confused. It opens with King Arthur and Merlin with a transforming dragon, I guess, and I was already on board for that. and then we cut to a post-apocalyptic world where everyone's got a sense of humor about the end of the world. And Mark Wahlberg lives in a junkyard with a random assortment of fucking Transformers. And then some other things happen, and then other things happen over here that don't seem related, but they happen really fast. I never understood what was happening at all in the entire movie. I was confused the entire time, couldn't stop watching it, loved every minute of it, no idea what was going on. Just there was a robot with a French accent. I don't know what was happening. Anthony Hopkins was in it for some reason, and then there was a lady robot. It was just, I don't know. I really honestly loved it. I loved it completely because I was so confused, but I couldn't stop watching it. So I highly recommend it if you're really down with watching something that you've no idea what's going on.
Counterpoint, don't watch it. It's horrible.
It was just, no, it was great because it was just, why are they going over here and then they're going over there and then they're going over there and then they're going over there? I don't know why. Why are we doing anything?
I mean, at least this one didn't waste 5 minutes explaining why it's okay to have sex with underage girls.
It
like the
didn't
last one
explain.
did.
It didn't. Oh, but it
What?
didn't explain anything. Nothing got explained. Even
Did
when
it
they
have the
explained,
racism from the other films?
No, not as
I mean,
much.
it did have a samurai transformer.
Yeah, well, we're talking about they had robots with grills on their fake teeth, and then one of
That
them,
was two, yeah.
Yeah,
one of them
and
didn't know how to read,
Yeah,
right?
they joke about it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's
No, it did not do that.
Yeah, that's one reason I don't like the Transformer films. There's a lot of terrible.
Elliot, what about you?
Yeah, I finally started watching the Fargo TV show, and
Nice.
I just finished the second season. That's good, but I loved the first season. Like, just with the actors and the plot twist and the suspense of it. The first season of Fargo is one of the best seasons of TV I've seen in years. Season 2 is good. I'm only a few episodes into 3, and that seems fine. But it's like season 1, like that's where I'm putting my chips on. Yeah.
Season 2 kind of felt like, with the way it ended, kind of felt almost like No Country sometimes. Like with the way that kind of left you like going, oh, okay, I have to think about this for a little bit.
Yeah, like it was good. It definitely had some really great moments to it, but just season 1 hooked me the most, where I was like, when I would come home from work, I would jump to the TV to watch it. And that kind of compulsive viewing doesn't happen for me that often.
Yeah.
Normally it's just like, oh, this is my routine. This is what I'm watching today. So when I have that kind of electricity with the show, I'm always hugely appreciative. And I think Fargo season 1 knocked it out of the park.
It's got Billy Bob Thornton in it. He is so good.
It's his best since Sling Blade, right?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it at some point.
Key and Peele are in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I will, because I keep saying that I will, and then I still haven't done it. And it's
Well,
now been
I mean,
3
you-
seasons.
There's too much good TV to watch.
Yeah, that's
Especially when
why
you
I'm
have a
just
kid.
getting.
Especially
I think
when I
it-
waste so much time watching bad TV.
Yeah. I mean, this season 1 was from like 6 years ago, and I'm finally watching it. So I'm like way behind on the clock. But like you've always been talking about fathering a child, and you eventually did that.
By accident.
Eventually did it, yeah.
It's like, it's just add it to the list of 1,000 things that you need to do before you die. And,
Sure, yeah.
Maybe.
1,000 things I need to, maybe do before I die.
Yeah.
It's
Perfect.
not a bucket list. It's like a tray list.
It's more like a Ralph's shopping bag list.
There you go.
When we're on our deathbed, we're going to be like Oscar Schindler. Like, there's so many things I still wanted to watch.
It's gonna be like, I didn't watch Fargo.
You got to become a ghost and then just like sit behind some schlub who never leaves the couch, and
there you go.
That's who you haunt.
Yeah, like the ghost in Conjuring 2, except you'll not torture the little girl.
Yeah, I just want to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
But then you get to
This is
heaven,
my
and there's
chair.
all these different streaming platforms that you have to subscribe to. And it's just...
You come
sounds
home
kinda
and
like
just,
hell.
How
to
many
me.
souls is Disney Plus? This is
You
ridiculous.
just come home and there's just like and you're like, I'm being haunted by a ghost. What are these doing? I just keep coming home and the TV's on.
He just won't stop watching fucking Arrowverse.
No, season 5 is awful.
Why'd you watch that season twice in a row?
Like, he just keeps switching between Arrow and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. Like, it can't even follow a linear story.
Yeah, that's me as a ghost for sure. I think we should start talking about the movie that
Do
we're all
we
here to
have
talk
to?
about. I know it would be more fun to avoid it, but to talk about the elephant in the room is the movie that we're here to talk about, which is Bohemian Rhapsody. This movie came out last year. It got, I believe, a 46 on Metacritic, which is one of the lowest reviewed movies to ever be nominated for
And
Best
yet
Picture.
it won Academy Awards.
It won 4 Academy Awards, which is insane. The ones that it won, I will firmly stand by. Rami Malek deserved it. I think he was great. I know a lot of people disagreed with us. I know famously Craig over at the front row thinks that he did not deserve it because he didn't sing the songs. That's something we'll get into. But there's a lot of reasons why people didn't like a lot of things in this movie. There's a lot of reasons people like things in this movie. It made a shitload of money. The reviews were okay, and it walked away with a shitload of statues. So I think this will be a good one for there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. I think there's more bad than good, but whatever, we'll get into that. Before we do, though, we have to do a 30-second breakdown.
You have to sing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm not
And
prepared for that.
If you don't sound exactly like Freddie Mercury, you're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
I'll do nothing, but just let you know that you're in trouble. Okay, so let me get your timer out here. And you ready? Mm-hmm. So here we go. Bohemian Rhapsody in 30 seconds. Here we go, 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 go.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Rami Malek is Freddie Mercury in an award-winning movie. Rami Malek won Best Actor. Rami is the champion of the Oscars. Ayo, ayo, daylight come and I want go home.
That was horrible,
I mean,
but so good.
amazing.
I don't think anyone has a clue what happened in the movie.
I mean, did anything happen in the movie?
I don't know, so I think it gotta work still. That was perfectly on brand for Bohemian Rhapsody. And easily far and away your best breakdown to date.
God.
you.
I'm gonna die now.
Wait, did I hear encore?
No.
It's all right.
You came up for your encore to an empty auditorium. So I just kind of want to start with, I think we're kind of going to be all roughly on the same page on this thing, but just kind of a quick around the table. What is our general opinion of the movie? I can go first. I think, and I'll break it down into thirds. I think it starts, first third is good, second third is bad, third is just unwatchable garbage, and I'd rather just turn on Live Aid, like a good YouTube rip of it, because that'd be more entertaining. I think the movie just goes downhill real fast, but that's me. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say similar to yours, but like downscale one. So I thought the first third was fine, and then successively like exponentially worse each section.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I thought, I wish I had just watched concert footage. I spent just time finding all the concert footage I possibly couldn't watch that instead. And I feel like I would have gotten the same. Well, I would have gotten more out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Chewie, what about you?
I was very excited for this movie because I am a decent, I guess not huge because I haven't like memorized all their albums, but I love Queen.
So do I.
And one of the reasons we ended up not seeing it was because the reviews were kind of lukewarm when it first came out. And I was like, why would you make something just okay about Freddie Mercury? Because there was nothing just okay about Freddie Mercury.
No.
So then when you did see this movie, for the majority of it, I was like, yeah, it's just okay. And then it became homophobic and just sad. And I was like, oh, what did you do? Why? Why did you do this?
Emily.
Oh, God. Oh,
You saw this in theaters, right?
No,
I
actually, I
thought you
never
did.
did. I meant to, and then I heard the bad reviews, and I decided to wait. I did work on a promo for it, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've seen them. I've seen the stars of the movie like from a distance. They never actually spoke to any of the crew. But I made eye contact with Rami Malek for like 5 seconds. So
There you go.
Pretty exciting.
Was he wearing his teeth?
He was not.
Ah.
He was very nice and very quiet. Yeah. So I found it very. One of my big pet peeves is biopics about fabulous people that don't live up to those people. I have issues with Man on the Moon in that regard. And I feel like this movie just squandered its source material. They had someone who they could have done so many creative things with this movie, and they just made this semi-linear, just really dull movie that just kind of goes from plot point to plot point without really any character arc. It just sucked.
Yeah. And linear is a loose term because
Yeah.
they play fast and loose with time in this.
Yeah, and if you're going to do that,
Yeah.
then do it.
When was We Were
And then
Rocky
his-
written?
And then the character arc he has is him realizing his gay ruins his life.
Yeah.
No.
But we have one more person. Elliot, what do you think?
Yeah, great music, good performance, wrote story.
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of like I'll start here. What I was saying. So I mentioned to John and to Chewie and a few other people. I think if you want to watch this movie as just a celebration of Queen's music, you're fine. Like, you will enjoy it. That's exactly what it kind of is. If you're trying to get any of the story of the band Queen, especially Freddie Mercury, got Jim Hutton, who is a footnote in this movie. Like, if you're trying to get any of that stuff, this is the wrong movie. Somebody might make that Freddie Mercury biopic at some point later down the road. This is not it.
When the band's dead.
Yeah, because this is basically just a loose, hey, wasn't our music awesome? Yeah, it was. And that's the whole movie. And then they just kind of missed the point everywhere else. So moving on, I just want to talk about the cast a little bit, as much as we can. We'll save Rami for last, because that kind of moves into the next point I want to make.
Which one was the kid from Jurassic Park?
I didn't know he was in it.
Yeah, Joseph Maslow, John Deacon, Queen's bass guitarist.
That's the kid from Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Was he the one who kind of looked like a Keebler elf?
He's
with
the one
his hair?
he cut his hair halfway through.
Okay, yeah.
That was the one.
Wow.
When I went to do that,
right.
Wait,
Okay.
which kid from Jurassic Park?
The boy.
the boy.
He didn't look anything like him.
No.
It's been a few years.
Yeah, but usually you still
Taller.
look like yourself.
No, when I went to do that promo job, I was so fucking excited because I thought he was going to be there, and I misread the name, and it wasn't him, and I was very upset. True story, bro.
But I think the cast did a really good job. I think out of everything that I find problematic in the movie, the cast is the least of which. Like, I think the casting
Cast
was
did
pretty
great.
spot
Mike
on.
Myers is flawless.
Yeah, we can skip that one.
I have quite a few things to say about that one.
Yeah, that one. I mean, every bushel
Like,
of fruit has a bruise, but it's just one of those things where, like, beyond him, because I mean, even his character isn't a real person. Like, they just made him up and shoved him in the movie. Like, that guy didn't exist. The idea of somebody hating Queen's music, like, no, you can't do this. Nope. Queen was actually a very non-dramatic
But
band.
they were banned in the U.S. for a while, though.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, hey, we want to do this operatic CD. No one will listen to that. They went, oh, how much money do you need? That sounds great. Like, it was.
Why would you have a comedic meta moment? What? That just totally brings you. I thought that was just a fun trailer tag, essentially.
Yeah, like-
oh, kids aren't gonna bang their heads in their cars to this song, ha ha ha, because it's Mike Myers and he made that movie. That's great for a trailer, but then it was in the actual movie.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
It didn't match.
That's stupid.
But that's like, if they'd leaned more into that, like, let's just celebrate
There was
Queen.
nothing else meta in this
Sure.
film.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
And
if
there
it,
should have been.
either there should have been more or there should have been none. Like, just having one just felt really odd. But I don't want to hang on to that too much unless you.
Yeah, well, I think just who this movie was made for, it was very much like mainstream audiences who like to hear Queen's music on the radio, but don't really want to get that deep into like some of Freddie Mercury's biography, like some aspects that would be alienating for a swath of the domestic audience. It's just like for the average Joe and Jane Q moviegoer, it's like they're gonna get that Mike Myers thing and they're gonna laugh their heads off because they're getting that I see what you did there, and they're gonna feel good about themselves and they're gonna reflect that opinion to the movie.
Yeah, but that's something I don't necessarily think is wrong.
That's good for something like Marvel.
Yeah,
That's cute for that type of movie when it's supposed to be silly. This is a biopic about a legend, something serious. His life was amazing.
Was it legend? Wait,
it was legendary. Like absolutely epic. We don't need some sly little joke to some other movie.
But no, I'm fine with it if that's the movie you're making. It just felt like a really weird, like, let's just take a step into a different movie for a 15-minute scene with Mike Myers, and then we'll go back to the other one.
They didn't make any choices.
Yeah.
I mean, they made no choices in this movie. Everything was just sort of like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and not even correctly. But, like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to play with time, if you're going to play with the order in which the songs are written, use it. Like, one of the questions that you wrote is, I know you were going to get to it, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine,
like, does this work as a musical? And I have a big fucking
let's just
issue
jump right
with
there.
that.
If that's what
because
comes up.
a musical, like Joss Whedon actually talked about this when he was making the Buffy musical, is how important it was for him for the songs to not just be like, they're going along and then they sing a song.
Yeah.
The songs have to incorporate themselves into the story. And you could have done that here. Queen has a wild discography. I mean, there's a lot of fucking songs. There were ways... Okay, sorry. I'm gonna go on a bit of I'm gonna try to condense this, but Freddie Mercury never had a character arc in this movie. Like, what did he want at the beginning of the movie? What did he get at the end of the movie? There was just nothing. It was nothing. Someone hinted at one point that he was lonely, and that he wanted attention, or he didn't want to be alone. Okay, then make that the story. But they never did. Did he want his father's love? That wasn't the story either. Was he obsessed with being in front of the audience? They didn't make that about it either. It didn't make it about his love life. It made no choice about what this movie was going to be about. So there was no way to incorporate songs into telling that story, because instead it was just like, this happened, here's a song. This happened, here's a song. It's not a fucking musical. It's a boring movie with songs in it.
It's like Cliff Notes.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, and like as I was watching this movie, the one that came to mind the most was what's it called?
Spice World.
No.
Yes. No. The one about Steve Jobs, without Ashton Kutcher. Is it just
Steve Jobs.
Is it just Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
I thought it was Jobs.
That was the Ashton Kutcher
That was
one.
Ashton Kutcher one. Okay, so
That's not confusing at all.
Yeah.
Wait, is it called
They came out like the same
Yeah,
year.
the Danny Boyle, Aaron Sorkin movie.
Yeah,
is
that
called
one.
Steve
It
Jobs.
reminded me of that. Like, and that's what this movie I think could have and possibly should have been. Because that entire movie it's 3 press conferences at the launch of three of Apple's biggest products, and that's how you get the entire story, is just as they're at these 3 huge things. And if this is what they wanted to do with Bohemian Rhapsody and just tell the story of like, this is how we made these iconic songs, there's a movie I'm into. And like, we can kind of jump into like, oh, Freddie Mercury is at this point in his life when he wrote this song. He's at this point in his life when he wrote this song. And we don't need to do the whole side story of the woman who was the love of his life, although she's a wonderful character. Very sad life after
when he
this.
sings that song for the first time, she's not even there.
Yeah, like
it's nothing to do with her.
and it's such a weird idea. Like there's a way that they could have done both, and it felt like they're like, it's exactly what Emily's saying. There's no choice. Like, do you want to make that movie, or do you want to make a standard biopic? And I mean, they said yes. It's like, that's not a choice. That now we just kind of have a jumble mess of a movie, and it's just frustrating.
If you say yes to something like that when you want to make 2 things in that regard, you need to be artistic with it. Yeah. Like, you need to, like what you're saying, make choices to connect the 2 and make it interesting. And they just made a standard movie. There's only one sequence where they made it artistic, which was when they were doing the press conference and Freddie's like in a drug haze, whatever, and he's being bombarded with these questions from the press. But I didn't even like that. Yeah. Like, I felt like I was being attacked visually myself.
And there was no grounding in what part of that was real and what was inside his mind. Like, I know they did some things with the lenses and the editing, but because it was never grounded in that scene, it just felt
messy.
Like, it felt messy.
Yeah, and
It was hard to watch. I got really like my eyes hurt watching it. I got frustrated with it and had to like reorient myself. I was like, it was a hard part to watch.
And it was the only part of the film that did anything interesting.
I wholly disagree with you there because I think one of the other ones they did that was interesting and different, and I think it worked spectacularly, was after they finished recording Bohemian Rhapsody, and then they have the whole Mike Myers scene where they're convincing him to play it, and then it ends with we're playing it, and then it's just a black screen, and then the reviews of the song start coming out, and they're just horrible reviews. And it's like I thought that was really cool. Like I thought that was a great they did it. Oh, no one liked it.
I guess
and then it caught
they
on.
didn't do anything with
think
that.
I know, and it's like, oh, that was such a good idea.
And I think that
that
would have combined really well with the idea of seeing them at different points in their career with the certain songs and how they were made.
Yeah.
Because it would be interesting to juxtapose that critical reception, their thoughts, and all that back and forth. That was the movie that I was more intent on watching.
Yeah.
I could almost agree with you on that because that is an interesting part of the film. But for me, it felt more like a transition thing than it felt like an actual sequence.
Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of like what Emily was saying. They did nothing with it. Like it could have been a really cool point, but instead it's just a transition.
I keep thinking about like this one example of what I'm talking about, like where they could have done, like, so I was thinking about there's a scene where he was at that party that he had at his house, and like I said, that one guy had one throwaway line where he was like, oh, he's just lonely, he just doesn't like being alone. Well, make that his character. So he's lonely, he doesn't like being alone, and when he's in front of the audience, he is fulfilled. And they could have demonstrated that by having him at that party, everyone's leaving, and he's like, don't go, and people are leaving, and he's like, fine, I'm here by myself, fine, I'm having a ball, don't stop me now. And he sings lonely as fuck, like dancing around his house all by himself, and then he comes to the part where he's like da 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 da, and he's really sad, and then we zoom in on his face, and then we zoom out on his face, I'm a racing car, whatever the line is, and then he starts singing don't stop me now, and now he's in front of an audience and he's fucking fulfilled. And we've just taken a song that was about sadness and loneliness and him covering and turned it into a song about the way that he gets joy out of his life. And we've now used that song in a way to explore character by like juxtaposing the drama. But instead the movie just goes, here's a song. And that is what frustrated me, is that's just like, that's my like loose take on, I mean, obviously I'm not the writer of this, but that's what I would have done, something like that if they'd let me. But somebody please let me.
Don't stop her now.
I fully agree with you on that. Like, it's after the movie was done and we were in the middle of the credits and The Show Must Go On came on, Brian and I immediately started being nostalgic about Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
The way they used that song. And like what you're saying, like it totally, like in Moulin Rouge, that song was used amazingly to express a narrative. And that's what this movie lacks completely.
I can't think of that song any different.
Yeah, you go through Queen's repertoire. So many other songs tell stories. Like that was kind of the era of that music. I mean, like we saw Elton John in concert, and that's what he talked about. He's like, every song I have tells a story. Queen's not 100% about that across the board, but they do have a lot, and that would work. And it's
this movie should have been more like Moulin Rouge, if anything.
Yeah. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is at its core a song about someone who's very lonely. So, but it wasn't used. It was just sung. It was just a song. It had no exploration of where the lyrics came from or how they impacted the lives of the people who
It had a cute, like, we're friends and having fun moment when they're recording it, and then they all knock over the soundboards and they're all giggling, and it's like, oh, that's fun.
That was really cool. I was there for that.
Yeah.
In that moment, it was exciting to watch. I wanted that.
That's the thing. I think that's where I'm going to kind of get into my next thing, which is not in the notes here, so I apologize. But this movie just it does the chief flaw of any musical biopic, and I love musical biopics. I know I'm very much in the minority there, and a lot of people don't really gravitate to them. I usually do. There's very few that I don't see, but there's a problem that I always have with it because I get really into the history of bands and music and that sort of stuff, and the more I look into it, the more I get annoyed when I watch the movie and they just completely rip it apart for drama. Queen wasn't a very dramatic band. They never broke up. They never had a lot of problems. Their biggest things they hit on was like they'd argue over rights of who wrote what song. Like that was a big thing. But like otherwise, like when Freddie did his solo tour or his solo album, the bassist had already done one. Like it wasn't a big deal. Nobody cared. And like the more they kind of just start ripping apart the history of it, the more it's an insult to like actually how they got there. Because part of the reason Queen was such a great band was because they were great friends. Because they did get along. Like all this manufactured drama, and I'm not saying there wasn't any, because I mean I wasn't there, and obviously if you have a man going through the dilemmas and the inner turmoil that Freddie Mercury went through, there was going to be problems. But at the same time, the band stayed strong the whole way through. Like, they never had to break up. They never had to go through this whole rehearsal. And then even like insult to injury, he didn't know he was diagnosed with AIDS or HIV positive till well after Live Aid. Like, Live Aid, like the movie, they make it look like he put on the best performance ever to like show he still has life in him and just blah 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 blah. No, that was just an awesome Freddie Mercury performance.
And
That went on for just way too long in this movie.
Yeah, like,
and that Live Aid in real life, he was still a very robust man. There was nothing sickly about him.
no, and it's like the huge year-long breakup they had before the movie was 2 months, and it's because their tour ended 2 months before Live Aid, and it's not like they had a big breakup or anything. And like, I get it, that's not dramatic, and it's more dramatic to make Live Aid more of the climax. I understand that from a storytelling point of view, but
that should also tell you when you're crafting this story, like, this maybe isn't the route we should go.
yeah, maybe we shouldn't be telling this story because this isn't the story.
Pick an angle. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, what's love got to do with it is a great example for me of one that works because they chose just the story about her and Ike Turner and how she got out of there and found her power. And that's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
This movie just was like, oh, here's Freddie's life. And you have, like, the best ones take a moment in that person's life and, like, focus it, like, center it around something.
Yeah, there's a musical that made it to Broadway that started in Chicago. I don't remember the name of it now, but it's all about like a one recording session where Johnny Cash, Buddy Holly, I don't remember who all was there, but they all showed up and they all recorded one album together, and they made an entire play about it, and it was phenomenal. And you felt like you got to know all of the four men who were there because it was just this one night. And it's like, if you look into the history of just how fucking Under Pressure was written, that it was a 24-hour recording session of basically coke and booze that sounds way more interesting than the entire movie we watched. I would have watched a 2-hour movie about making that one song and gotten more out of Freddie Mercury's life than I did out of this movie that masquerades as a historical movie about Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, because there was a line in the movie after they did Under Pressure when they were talking about Live Aid and they were like, David Bowie's going to be there. And I was like, ooh, David Bowie. And I was like, you've met David Bowie at this point. You know, you performed with David Bowie. Yeah. I don't understand, like, what. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah.
It's just very frustrating.
Very frustrating.
But speaking of frustrating things, I want to move on to something that's really bumped a lot of people. And for me personally, did not at all. Does it bother you that Rami doesn't sing in the movie?
No.
No.
No? We're on the table no on this one? Sorry, everybody else.
To be
His fake teeth bothered me.
To be a little mean to our friend who was unhappy that he didn't sing this movie.
Yeah, take that, Craig.
An example of let's just bring back the dubbing so that it doesn't have to sacrifice the music would have been Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Okay, Emma, you're great. You're not a singer. So Rami probably knew, I am not Freddie Mercury. I am not going to bring down a movie about Freddie Mercury by trying to be that.
Like, even if you're the best singer, I wouldn't want to try to
just
pretend to
don't.
sound like Freddie Mercury.
Just dub it, and we'll all be happy.
Yeah, I mean, they replaced his voice. They replaced the director. Like, they did everything they could to get this thing out.
And see, even though I knew going in that he didn't sing, the movie never bothered me with that because it was like, well, Rami Malek's performance, it was still believable. I could still escape into that, like, that, okay, you're talking, now you're singing, and I believed it. I was able to believe it.
And I looked into it a little bit, and I should look into it more. I probably should have before we recorded this. But the thing that I think worked, and the reason why it won both the Sound Academy Awards, was because of how they used Freddie Mercury's voice. And from what I understand was it's Rami Malek throughout everything, and then whenever he's singing, it's either Freddie Mercury or Freddie Mercury with another person to kind of match it in, to kind of make it sound not 100% Freddie Mercury, because that would pull you out of it, because Rami Malek does not sound like him, but just off a little bit so that you could still tell that, oh, that's Freddie Mercury's voice, but not 100% him. I think that's genius. Like, that just, it shaves one edge off of it that would take it out, and then you believe that that's the voice coming out of him. It's not like when you watch Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and then George Clooney starts singing. It's like, holy shit, that's not his voice.
It's also not like when you watch Mamma Mia and Pierce Brosnan starts singing.
It's like, oh, whoa. Yeah, I never had that moment. Like, if I didn't know what I know just about, the music in general, I don't think I would have questioned him singing nearly as hard, but Freddie Mercury's voice. Everyone knows his voice.
It was fluid and done well.
They probably did a lot of testing on that to see what would work.
I can understand why they won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, those three I totally get. The Rami Malek, both the sound ones, editing. Ooh.
What a frustrating watch for me on that.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was getting into. Because the memes online with that one scene at the cafe, I've seen that all over Twitter. And I was like, I knew about that going in, and I didn't realize it was so soon in the movie. So I was like, oh, we're just gonna start this off with just, where'd that guy come from? Where'd he come from? Oh God, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm also very upset with what they did to Lord Baelish, the hair and makeup department.
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
He just
that
looks
scene-
ridiculous. He doesn't look handsome at all.
Oh,
and that scene.
he's a good character actor.
He is handsome.
and
Don't
for
make
his
him unhandsome.
Which one is Lord Baelish?
The old manager, the one that gets fired.
Oh.
the manager, yeah.
Wait, isn't that Littlefinger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is he also Lord Baelish?
Yes,
That's
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger's real name.
Yeah, his
Littlefinger isn't his real
his
name.
real name is
No.
not Littlefinger.
That'd be such a weird name to give a baby.
Yeah. Well, that is a tiny finger right then and there, I guess.
Unless that's key for his
It's
penis.
never going to get bigger.
I don't know my body. But that scene itself is even like, it felt like it was on a green screen too,
Yeah.
watching it. So
There was
edited,
a lot of green screens.
it was edited poorly, and it looked like it was on a green screen. The scene that reminds me closest of is in the room
I
on
was
the
gonna
roof.
say
Yeah.
the rooftop, yeah.
Because it like the lighting was weird, and then like the makeup on the actors was kind of weird in that scene, and so was the lighting. And then like you guys were saying about Littlefinger, he looked weird in that scene. Everything looked weird in that scene, and then like the rest of the movie, like in the beginning, at least, I don't know, throughout it was a lot of choices like that was just like, I'm going to endure this, but I'm having a frustrating. I can't get into this. Like,
Yeah,
What?
that's a good point. Of like I felt like the majority of the movie is like, you're not into this. It's like, no, I should be though. Why do you keep telling me that I'm not? Because you're not.
and then a Queen song would come on, and I'd be like, okay, well, I can at least close my eyes, and I still have to watch this for this podcast. Okay, bummer, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then another editing choice would come in, like even the Live Aid where they're cutting to the phone lines, and they're like, Queen is the single-handedly saving Live Aid. And then there's the guy who was on TV saying like, you better give me all your money. He's like, yes. And I was like, who are you again? I forgot.
And why did Live Aid go on so long? Like, the movie's called Bohemian Rhapsody, and they sang Bohemian Rhapsody. So I was like, okay, that's the end of the movie. Nope. We got more songs. We got like 5 more songs for some fucking reason. I don't know why we're still
Yeah.
here.
I didn't have a good transition.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Went on another rant.
No, I love your rants. It's great. I want to go on a long rant about Paul Prenter, played by Alan Leach,
Who's that?
Freddie Mercury's personal manager and / lover / I'm evil.
Oh,
I am evil and I am gay and I'm going to feast off of you and destroy your life. Like, seriously, he would just hark back in scenes and just stare maniacally at people like he's some, like, little vile predator. And it's just like, I understand in real life this guy was terrible to Freddie, but why did you have to make a Disney villain out of him?
And my thing was like, because when he's first introduced, he's introduced rather lovingly. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, here's a man that he can actually like maybe start to learn a little bit more about himself, and then oh no, he's the bad guy. But it's just like he is the personification of evil gay.
Yeah.
And it's like if
like
you
the
hang out with
gay
him,
agenda,
you're
like
gonna
he's
do
gonna get
drugs. You're gonna be into leather. You're gonna get a mustache. Like it's like
It was
you're
so...
gonna like disco.
yeah. But it was like that level. It was like fucking Ursula, this like the octopus, but as a gay man, just like
so weird.
And it's
I'm going to steal your voice. Ha 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 ha.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, what the fuck?
That
Like,
line would have actually fit in this movie with
like-
the way he was acting.
exactly. And like that's I really don't want to talk about him much because none of us want to talk about him anymore. But like Bryan Singer is a gay man. Like it's strange that a gay man made a movie about a gay idol that hates gay people. Like this movie, it just felt very homophobic.
There's also a lot of there's also bi-erasure in this movie because Freddie Mercury was bisexual.
Yeah.
And there's a line where, and we all think of him as a gay man, but he also was, by
never-
all accounts, was attracted to women.
He
So
never fully came out as gay.
yeah,
Like,
and there's that scene where he tells her he thinks he's bisexual, and she says, "No, you're gay," and that's it. And that happens to bi people a lot. That someone will tell them they're gay. So maybe that was the point. But then there's never any pushback on that. She just says, "No, Freddie, you're gay," and it's like, oh well, we just accept that as true. And it's like bisexual people like, "Hi, we exist."
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. Because
Yeah.
like the long and the short of it is the stuff we know about his personal life is all secondhand.
Yeah.
Like Freddie was a very, very
Yeah.
private person. He didn't tell anybody about his HIV positive till very late, like
Like
pretty
the
much
day
right
before
before
he
he died.
died.
Yeah. Like, and he didn't really tell anyone about a lot of his personal relationships. So we know a lot of it from that Paul fucker, and we know a little bit from Mary. But even Mary, hides. She's like, she wanted nothing to do with this movie. She didn't do anything with the press tour.
Because she was his closest friend. That's one thing that this movie, I mean, except for the rattling of their friendship, which I don't know how much that was true. Like, Freddie,
I looked in a little bit this morning. That was when he came out to her. That really rattled them for a while. But they of course. I mean,
you were going to marry this man,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course.
it's a bombshell.
But
It's going to rattle anyone.
Pretty much from the moment he bought her the house next to him, they were close friends.
And he left most of his estate to her when he died. Yeah,
50%.
So that's a lot. Like they were very close.
Yep.
And it upsets me that I wish she had some input on this movie because I feel like it would have been better with it. But I also respect her choice not to be.
And that kind of brings around to one of the other questions I had on our note sheet that we do now. Did this change your mind about the band Queen or Freddie at all? Like, did this have any impact on you as far as like your general opinions go? Because it did on me.
Character development, so no.
I think you're talking about, like, you're giving kind of the backstory.
Yeah.
Has changed my opinion more than this movie did, because I didn't believe that was the real Queen.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing, is like, since they were all, not all, two of them were story and creative producers on this thing, they paint themselves in a very nice light. Like, they are always positive, they're nice, they're only grumpy when they've been wronged by Freddie. When they're at a big drug party, they stay clean, they leave early to go home to their families. It's like, what?
And that's just something that irritates the crap out of me.
Oh my God.
If you can't handle your past and any like personal criticism, then you're probably not that great of a person.
And what does that say about the guy they've called a brother for the majority of their career, that they signed off on this movie that paints him as the villain? Like, he is the antagonist of the whole movie. Everything that goes wrong in this movie is Freddie's fault, and they really make sure you know that. Mm-hmm. The band had problems because of Freddie. Freddie had problems because of Freddie. Like, everything that negative happens in the movie, Freddie somehow orchestrated or was coerced into orchestrating.
By Paul.
Yeah. And it's like, why? Like, didn't you love this man? Like, wasn't he like your everything, and they were his everything? Like, what the fuck happened after he died that made you guys dislike him so much?
Is that why Sacha Baron Cohen left the project? Because they wanted to make it a Queen movie and not a Freddie movie?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he felt it wasn't going to be truthful enough. And he was right. Yeah. But it's like the way they did the movie, like, it's still really connected. It made a ton of money, won a lot of Oscars. So it's that thing where, like, from a critical perspective, like, they made a bad movie. But in terms of, like, financial success, award success, it's like, I mean, they did something that a huge amount of the global population, because I think it did great overseas too. So it's like they did something that still connected with millions of people.
Oh, yeah. It's this year's Greatest Showman. Like, I watched Greatest Showman, and I'm like, this is the worst movie I've seen this year. Like, my God, this is trash. And then we had to go to we didn't have to go. We chose to go. I wanted to go to see. There was like this elementary school performance that people from my childhood put on, so I got to see them again. And they opened with songs from Greatest Showman, and it's like, I hated that movie, but the music was good. I can see why it connected to people.
Wait, the kids from your childhood put on a show?
It's a whole different thing.
Okay, that sounds like a ghost story.
But it definitely speaks to just the love of the band Queen, their music, and the impact that they've had on many generations of people.
Yeah. That
this movie's done well. But at the same time, it's like it's also a dangerous thing to do, because our nostalgia is like painted over, like, it's not accurate. I mean, and this movie doesn't help that.
Yeah.
It delves into something that is easily consumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
like,
it's like someone else was referring to, like, how there's a lot of like weird things about people who dislike comic book movies these days, and they're complaining about them. And I like some of their criticisms can be true. Like, yeah, they're not complex. You don't really have to like be too involved in these films. Every problem is rather base. Like, you can relate to it easily. And then in this movie, they really did that. They did not make anything complex. They kept it very base, which is, again, like I said, that just made it okay and not fabulous, which is not Freddie Mercury.
And I think coming out at this time of, like, this, in this era that we're living in, it's almost irresponsible to make a movie like this that washes over some important aspects that, like, I don't know, I feel like we need more honest, like, and accurate depictions, more so than like
you might want that, but with how terrible the world is right now, we're just going to get more easily consumed things because everyone feels terrible most of the time.
Right. But
Which just speaks more that this wasn't the right time for this movie. This wasn't the right time for Freddie Mercury's story.
I'm optimistic about Rocket Man because in the trailers it looks like they went some creative directions with it.
Elton himself says that he is very open about his problems, and he had a lot to do with that movie. So he is not shy of personal criticism.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw him live, he did a good 5-minute stint on how important it is to ask for help when you need help. He's like, because when I was in drugs and this stuff, I wasn't a good person, and I needed help. And he does a whole thing about it because he's had many organizations specifically to help people in those situations. They didn't give any of that to Freddie. Like, and the band refused to show any of their problems, which is, I get it. Nobody's proud of everything they've done in their life. That'd be ridiculous if you were. But at the same time, you still did those things. You still are those people. You still decided the guy from Bad Company would be a good lead singer for a little while, and I had to see that fucking concert.
And then another thing that they put in this movie about themselves, which I thought was really weird, is they made a scene, even though the scene's driven by Freddie Mercury, they made that scene specifically to show how the band would have had a life without Queen. This one would have been a dentist. This one would have been an electrician. This one would have been a physicist or whatnot of the cosmos. And they're like, well, what would you be without us, Freddie? And Freddie was like, I'm like, what is this scene?
Yeah, why are you digging at him like this?
Yeah.
And I feel like that. I think that's like when we get in like our favorite or least favorite thing about it. That's always gonna be my least favorite thing. Is I feel like this movie didn't like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of felt like, yeah, he was a great frontman, bad person though. And it's like, that's not what I should be taking away from this movie, even if it might be true. Like, but I don't trust that any rock star is a great human being. I just don't think it's a thing.
Again, because we were given no character arc.
Yeah.
We were giving nothing to root for. He walked up to a band, was like, "Hey, can I join you?" He joined them. The band did well. They sold some albums. There was no.
But it's all that matter of fact too. At a certain point, they were the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
Like they had the number one album globally.
Yeah.
And like the most we get from them is like, I guess you want to play Live Aid. People kind of
there was nothing to root for.
Yeah.
It's hard to like the main character when there's no journey.
Yeah. Oof. Oy. So we've been really shitting on this thing. What would we say are our favorite thing in the movie? Like, what if you had to try to figure out something that actually worked? What would you say?
The songs are really good.
I liked the reproduction of costumes and performances.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
I think I'd agree with you. I think seeing the various Freddie Mercury costumes throughout the years were great. But for me, the thing, I agree the scene goes on too long. Like, why don't we just watch Live Aid then? Is Rami did such a good job being Freddie Mercury on the Live Aid stage that when you go on YouTube and you watch the side-by-side comparison, it's mind-boggling. Like, just mind-blowing. Like, Rami did such a good job with that performance, and especially in that sequence. I get why they left it long. They shouldn't have. I understand why they did it. It was the wrong choice, but I can understand why they made that choice.
And that's why, like,
brilliant in it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, at the very end of it, after watching the movie, I sat down, the movie was done, I was like, okay, I liked that part, and I couldn't figure out, like, because it was that. Yeah. That I liked the end a little bit more than the beginning. But I think that was the reason. Like, that performance cinched it. But for me, I think the montage, the style of the montage, where they're going through the concerts and the costumes, and like the cities are flying overhead, and then like that stylistic thing that kind of hinted at a more myth. The band, like Queen is the myth. Yeah, that really kind of hooked me in a lot more because I was like, okay, you're kind of going a little bit abstract with this, and that's kind of where I was like keyed into the most.
It kind of made me wish that Adam McKay directed this because he's actually doing new things like that, and it would have been cool. He was too busy making a movie about one of the most hated people of all time. Vice, if anyone's known.
Oh, yeah.
Mm. He does do a lot of fun, creative things.
He does.
I like the way he makes movies.
Yeah. Elliot, was there something that you just loved about it that you actually did enjoy?
I
Philly,
like
you
that
loved
scene.
Mike Myers' character.
Yeah. I like that scene where they were on the bus and singing Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer.
That is a great scene.
The sequence, like I am a fan of these type of shots where they start from the outside of the bus, they go into the bus, they go through the bus, and then they go through the people that are on the bus, and suddenly they're on stage, and wow!
Yeah, that was really cool.
I loved that sequence.
Yeah.
Loved it. Like,
I have to imagine
I'm a sucker for those type of artistic moments.
I have to imagine that's how he got best editing, because if it was anything else, the voters were drunk at the wheel. I I think that's kind of everything I really had to say about this movie. Is there anything else that we really missed?
Not really. I mean,
just there was more things that I disliked about it, but we don't need to keep harping on it.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I can bitch about everything it did wrong, but I mean that's not much of a review.
By the time we got into the Live Aid concert, I was doing steps around my apartment. I was just walking because I have a loft. I was just walking up and down the stairs and just ranting at the television to no one. I was just yelling at my television, like so angry at this movie. So
that was me watching Neon Demon. About halfway through, I'm just like, I fucking hate this.
Oh god, I kind of want to rewatch Neon Demon just to be like, is it really that bad? Like, am I? Was I just not prepared for it?
I really hope I don't have any meetings coming up with anyone who made Bohemian Rhapsody. Please don't listen to this episode.
Well, to be fair, I think every critique we're making is founded in filmmaking stuff. It's not us just bitching, but you know,
Yeah.
I'm a little biased. I'm in the conversation.
I mean, it
So
did
what do
lose
I
its
know?
director partway through, so.
I bet a lot of people are sad
I mean,
to see
most
him
of
go.
our criticisms are towards the directing choices and
Yeah.
the choices that were probably influenced by the band.
Yes,
'Cause
that's true.
because another good moment or kind of second place for me for favorite is in the beginning when we follow behind Freddie Mercury the whole time and we get to that stage, he passes through and it just stops right in front of the giant crowd, like this is your moment thing. And before cutting, it was powerful, and they kind of like undercut it later, but like that was there's stuff in here that was like compelling.
There was a lot of powerful shots. I liked the cinematography and
Yeah.
everything.
Who was that? Newton Thomas Sigel.
He did a very good job.
He did, and I think that when people tell me they enjoyed this movie, I can honestly say I get it. Like
Technically, it's great.
yeah, I get it. I understand.
There were
what
no egregious line crosses.
There's that.
There you go.
But
yeah.
I mean, it's like I said earlier. If you just want to watch a movie and jam out to some Queen tunes, like this is great. Like it's exactly what you'd want because like they stuff it to the gills with Queen songs. Like it's just kind of funny. Like it's kind of lighthearted. They don't really try to be too deep in anything. So I get it. It's kind of disposable entertainment. But I just don't think I'll ever go back to it unless
If I want a glitzy operatic, blah, blah, blah,
No, absolutely. Keep trying. This is entertaining.
movie that is over the top and features some Queen songs, I'm going to watch Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would too.
I thought she was gonna say Flash Gordon.
That too. That too. Go, Flash, go.
You know, like I always think when we talk about biopics that are creative, like the person they're about, I always think of the Peter Sellers. I forget the name of it. The Peter Sellers one.
Life and Death of Peter Sellers.
Yeah. That with Jeffrey Rush, because that had all kinds of weird fourth wall breaks and like it had him. I don't know. It was more like in line with how Peter Sellers would have told the story of his life, and I think that's what the goal should be when you're making a biopic about a fabulous person: is make it the story that they would tell about their life. And if they were someone who was just like over the top wild, well, then so should their movie be.
Yeah, and I think the only addendum I'd make to that note is that you should tell it how they would tell it, but not entirely.
Yeah.
Like, don't let them tell it.
Tell the truth, but tell it slant.
Yeah, like that's entirely it. Because I think the more you let the actual person who lived it tell the story,
They're going to get protective and they won't be killing their babies.
and then you end up with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I know they own the story, but if they're not going to let you tell the honest story, don't make the movie.
You need to let go of your ego.
Yep.
It stifles your art.
This was a rough one because I was not super excited about the movie, but I had known just because I am a Queen fan. I love Queen. They're a hard band not to love, but oof.
I
this
have
movie-
one friend that once told me on set that he didn't think Queen was as great as everyone makes them out to be, and I was just like, if I wasn't at work right now, I would slap you. How dare you?
I've heard the same, and I've heard that only their hits are good, and I've heard all these things. And it's like, all right, that is your wrong
And then I
opinion.
play Seaside Rendezvous, and I'm like, shut your face and listen to this delightful song.
Yep. Or you have Edgar Wright just pulling out random tracks as like their best songs ever, and it's like, it wasn't, but that's fine. It worked for your movie.
I still like every time I hear that song, I think of them beating the zombie with a stick with a pool cue, and it's
Oh yeah,
the greatest.
yeah. I'm done with that song being used as fight scenes, though. I'm done. As soon as it started in Umbrella Academy, I'm like, fuck off with this song. I get it. It's good for fight scenes.
Yeah.
Find a new one.
It's canceled. Stop it.
Yeah.
Use Seaside Rendezvous.
Use any other Queen song. I don't care. All right, I think it's time for quotes. Everybody has theirs.
Yeah.
I have two, and I'm gonna cheat and use both of them. I apologize.
Oh no.
I'm going for the first one just because it's barely a line, but it is so beautifully well done, and I loved this moment. And it's right after Rami is told that he has AIDS and that there are some treatments, but they don't work. So this is kind of who you are for the next couple of years until you're no longer with us. And like just the face he makes, it's so heavy. You can see how sad he is, and he's walking out, and there's a guy who's clearly in late stages. He's looking rough, and he sees Freddie fucking Mercury walk by, and he just, oh. And it was just so sweet and nice, and I'm like, why wasn't the whole movie this good? But my actual quote that I just made me laugh, which I did not expect really from this movie very much, had to be, he's trying to impress Mary's dad, who's deaf, and he's just trying to I'm trying to say this. And she's like, I already told him. He's like, all right. Well, then tell him his daughter's an epic shag. And he's all proud of himself. And she just looks at Freddie, he can read lips. And just the look on the dad's face is just so fucking good. I love that.
Damn, you took mine.
Did I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Come back to me in a second.
I don't remember. I gotta be honest. I don't remember the context of this. I just remember that at one point they're told something. Americans are mad at them over a song or whatever, and somebody says, "It's America. They're Puritans in public and perverts in private." And I was like, "That yes, that is accurate."
Yeah, that's a good one. That's when they they banned the cross-dressing music video on MTV.
Oh right, yes. Well, that is America. We are Puritans in public and perverts in private. That is accurate.
And his frustration with that totally made sense. Yeah. Like, of course they're mad at me. It wasn't my fucking idea. It's like, oh, poor Freddie.
Yeah, so I wrote down that during that infamous, poorly edited cafe meeting, Freddie Mercury describes the band as, "We're four misfits who don't belong together, playing to the other misfits, the outcasts right at the back of the room who are pretty sure they don't belong either. We belong to them." And I listened to that, and it's just like, this entire script is just declarative statements like that seem like they're taken straight off of a $2 biography that you can get at a kiosk. And this isn't like near the end of the movie where he's talking about the meaning of their group. This is like 20 minutes in, and he's like, yes, I've already written a thesis about what we mean to society as a whole. And it's just like, the movie is so, it's like predetermined in terms of all these. It's like they took the Wikipedia page and like, all right, highlighted sentences, and it's like, okay, we'll depict this. And with that scene in particular, it's like it doesn't feel like a human being is talking. It's just that, like, oh, this is what pop culture scholars have written about Queen. Let's just put the words right in Freddie's mouth.
Well,
Yes.
Unbeknownst to all of us here, I just looked this up. Freddie Mercury wrote that Wikipedia article.
Whoa.
Don't fact check it, please.
Ground floor. Got it on the ground floor.
Yeah.
That
First Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
what you just said is something that I was actually thinking, and I didn't want to go on another rant, but yes, especially the moment after when Freddie tells them that he is HIV positive. I'm like, this monologue feels so forced and not natural.
Yeah, I also wrote, no one knows what Queen means because it doesn't mean one thing.
They said
so
it
much
meant
of
like
this
royalty
movie.
right at the beginning of the movie, though.
Okay, well, I've got my quote too. It's from Jim Hutton, actually, the character Jim Hutton.
Who? The movie kind of forgot who he was.
Yeah. It took me a second. I was like,
one of the most
Jim?
important people in Freddie Mercury's lives, and he has like
Who's
3
that?
lines.
Yeah.
Jim Hutton,
the
He's
line,
the other mustache
boyfriend
guy.
who lived with him throughout most of his
The
life.
one that actually,
Right, the guy. Okay.
Yeah.
the one that actually took care of him.
Yep.
Yeah, so like his line, I think, is actually kind of encompasses the whole movie too. It's the one where he says, "I like you too, Freddie. Come and find me when you decide to like yourself." And I think that line also works for the movie. The movie doesn't like itself.
But the movie also never established that as a character arc.
Yeah.
Until that moment. I was like, really? Is this what we were?
It was another moment where it just didn't feel natural. My quote actually had a moment where I was just like, oh, I like this scene. I'm having fun with this because I think that song's hilarious. That I'm in love with my car. So that
How does that song go?
I honestly don't know.
We'll sing it later. But I enjoyed that entire sequence, and I liked it when John Deacon said, "It's just a bit weird, Roger. What exactly are you doing with that car?" I was like, yeah, what? Because
Tailpipe.
it's suspicious.
That's a fetish, guys. That's the
T-Rexes in cars. Yep.
thing. Yeah.
And then I saved this last thing for last because it makes sense with when it happens in the movie. But before we get out of here, I have to bring up one final complaint with Bohemian Rhapsody. They spend time complaining to each other that from here on out, no songs are written by Freddie Mercury or any other band member. Everything's written by Queen. And then you watch the credits, all the songs go by, and it says, written by Freddie Mercury, written by... It's like, oh, what the fuck? Really? You can't even follow your rules in your own movie? Boo.
Yeah. Because most of the audience doesn't read the credits.
That's true.
That's why a wide variety of people hated it. Why a wide variety of people liked it. If they had stayed, read the credits,
They would've been
whole
angry.
different story.
They would have been right there with me like, what the fuck was this? Yeah, I
We
mean...
need to promote literacy.
Ooh, that's a hell of a...
Am I the only one, every time you try to say Live Aid, you accidentally almost say Right Aid?
No. I mean, yes. Probably yes.
Band-Aid?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Am I the only one that had absolutely no idea what Live Aid actually was about, and it had this thing in my head that was completely wrong?
I guess.
Maybe the only
I
one
don't
like
know.
associated with Kool-Aid.
Oh my God.
Am I the only one who... All right, we're done.
You mentioned did the earlier. I didn't get to this, but you were talking about did this movie teach you anything new about Queen or Freddie Mercury? And my thing was watching this movie and then they play Fat Bottom Girls and I was like, oh, I didn't know Queen wrote that. I was 3 or 4 times during this movie. Yeah, that's a Queen song.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings a close to this episode. We can do a quick round of plugs. Be sure to tune in every Monday at 10 a.m. for Venture Bros, Adventures Podcast. We are in season 4, which is the longest season out of the entire show, so we will be in this one for a while. But I do think there's some wonderful things in this season, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm really excited. That's it for me. John?
I'm good for now.
Superstore is back from its airing hiatus, so watch the new episodes Thursday nights.
Elliot, anything to plug?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Elliot Campos. I randomly recorded a new episode of Superhero Sampler with frequent After the Hype guest Samantha Garrison discussing 1966 Batman, the episode in which Batman and the Joker do a surf contest against each other. So that was fun, just a one-time thing probably for now. But enjoy it, listen to it, and then there's a project that's getting near the close to finishing final almost stages. So keep your eye on my Twitter page for more.
Fair enough. And then one final plug from us here at ATH. Be sure to tune into Samwise, the advice podcast from Sam Garrison. And if you have any questions for her, I will say this as I do on Venture Brothers. I challenge you to think of a question you don't think she'll be able to answer and give it a shot. And you can reach out to her at phone number 608-561-2755 or sam.wise@ATH.com.
Remember, she uses the Lord of the Rings extended edition to answer all her questions.
Yeah. So,
And their special features.
and their special
And
features.
special features.
So I challenge you. Do you think there is a life question that she can't answer with Lord of the Rings? Give it a shot.
How would you write Bohemian Rhapsody?
Bohemian Rhapsody let me down. Go.
Well, Lord Faramir... No.
What is the average shoe size for a adult hobbit?
Yeah, she'll get that. You can't softball him in like that. That's everything, right? Right?
Yeah.
Visit us, hthpod.com, and be sure if you want to email us, hthpodcast@gmail.com. All right.
Bye!
Bye.
Bye.